Kirsten, I'm in the school board meeting.
Oh, good.
Okay. We need this part to be recorded. We're not even going to do anything. Okay, it's 5 o'clock. We'll bring this meeting to order. Lisa, are there any speakers? Then we will go to closed session.
Good evening. I'm Grace Cox, principal of K-5 Riverview International Academy.
And I'm Carolyn Hood, teacher on special assignment and chief admin designee.
We would like to start by thanking the school board for giving Riverview International Academy this opportunity to spotlight our school on both Riverview and Winter Gardens campuses. We're pleased to bring attention to our program, including staff, students, and stakeholders. We would also like to take a minute to introduce and invite up one of our 5th grade student ambassadors from Mandarin program, Maya Vacado, for a few words from her student perspective. Please join us, Maya.
Thank you. Ni hao, halka, hello. My name is Maya Vacaldo. I am a 5th grade student in Mandarin Immersion Program. I am also a proud member of the Barona Band Mission Indians. I am grateful to be here to share my experience at Riverview International Academy. Over the years, I have had the best experiences of my life. I love how my teachers have cared about me and try to understand me. I love when things are interesting, fun, and especially hands-on. I really enjoy small group discussions and exploring ideas. One of my favorite experiences has been performing a traditional Chinese lantern dance at Balboa Park. I also remember sharing the Barona Museum artifacts to help teach my classmates about my heritage. My plan is to continue to learn Mandarin, Spanish in middle school and high school. My goal is to obtain the seal of biliteracy. Thank you so much for this opportunity, not only to be here as a student, but to also be a member of my Kumeyaay tribe. Thank you.
Yes. Right. Okay. Well, thank you, Maya. Sorry, we just want to make sure the technology part is okay. We also have another student who was scheduled to be here tonight, however, was unable to attend. She was so eager to share her story that she even sent us a video to share. So here is one of our 4th grade ambassador from Spanish program, Juliet Camacho.
It has had such an impact on me. When I entered kindergarten, Riverview is the place to be because it has fun learning activities such as meeting movie bridges and having music lessons. It has had such an impact on me. When I entered kinder, I couldn't speak a full sentence in Spanish or Mandarin. Now, I can speak fluently in Spanish and I know a lot of Mandarin. Ahora yo puedo hablar fluido en español y sabe mucho mandarín. Another wonderful aspect of Riverview is the teachers. We have the best teachers ever. We do fun learning activities and goal setting. We set trimester, yearly, and weekly goals. I set a goal to learn my 4 times tables by the end of this trimester, and I did it. We actually accomplished these goals with help from teachers. Also, the PTSA events are so fun. My favorites are Jogathon, Book Fair, and Bingo Night. To sum it up, Riverview is the place to be. Riverview is the place to be because it has
All right. Well, as you can see, we have the most amazing students at Riverview International Academy. What has jumped out to us over and over in the past 2 school years through distance learning, synchronous and asynchronous hybrid instruction, desk participation, partition, mask, and possible learning loss is, drum roll,
Da-da-da-da-da.
we need to connect with humans. We need each other.
We appreciate the renewed opportunities to open up the car doors in the morning and say, good morning, hang up the backpacks on the hooks, and welcome our learners with open arms to our classrooms every morning.
We want everyone to know, feel, and understand without a doubt that they belong. We all belong. So in addition to and deeply rooted in our school-wide focus areas, we are nurturing, building capacity for improving, and springboard our school-wide human-to-human connections.
This is not only our bounce back year, but we're really wanting to make sure that we take inventory, that we're putting out new and improved systems, learning from the past. We're catapulting our learning ahead as quickly as possible. So how are we doing this? We're really trying to look at this one step at a time, one day at a time, one challenge at a time, one conversation at a time, and really, most importantly, celebrate one celebration at a time.
This year, we have made some structural changes that we believe strengthen the core of what we do. We have had a vision to make our 2 campuses one over the years, but this year it is a must. Taking previous feedback and putting into action, we're working on clear, consistent communication and united game plan for our entire RIA program. We have shared leadership on both campuses with our principal, me, and our TOSA, Carolyn, communicating and collaborating daily, minute by minute. Our office staff, teachers, specialized support staff, and campus supervisors are working towards our common goals. These students belong to all of us. We see you, Riverview. Our students are the key to building program-wide energy and strength. As we build lasting connections, we have a vision to empower the student to take the helm, own their learning, engage with peers, and inspire possibilities.
Each and every one counts. In order to meet the needs of our ever-changing learners, we're really cultivating our learners' minds and their hearts. We're focusing on communicating, cooperating, connecting, embracing diversity, resolving conflicts, and building healthy relationships. So we're looking at, we care deeply, and we're trying to practice kindness with our students. We want to model that. We want to make sure that we're living and breathing that. We listen with empathy and understanding in order to develop the socio-emotional connections and ties. We wrap our brains and tongues around topics like teamwork and happiness, character building, growth mindset, and many, many more topics. We're communicating our thoughts, feelings, and actions in daily morning meetings with games, role-playing, and collaborative conversations where we truly listen and hear one another. We participate in teacher-led lessons, and we're working along with our school counselor on monthly lessons and activities as well.
We want to send these positive messages out loud and clear. Our RA broadcast is back, filled with news, trivia, and wisdom messages. And in the process of becoming completely student-led, we are modeling and aiming for deep dialogue about important topics to students in the world. This is a great practice for engaging in respectful dialogue to solve complex real-world problems, one of our LUSD long-term transfer goals.
Our positive behavior interventions and support, our PBIS systems, go beyond the classroom walls and beyond the media wavelengths. We've been refining our systems for safe and orderly play. We've been looking at our playground to classroom communication to make sure we're all on the same page. And we've been looking at our positive reinforcement and also very natural, reasonable consequences with our students. Students are working hard to make good decisions, good choices with each other, and really earn rewards that include more than just things, but more human contact and interaction. We're looking at earning time with mentors and extra play time with friends in class and across classes.
Oh, Maya, you're here again. Right here. Okay. Diversity and inclusion are vital components of student learning. Through our emphasis on global citizenship, we encourage our students to learn and embrace cultures that are different from their own. In our increasingly interconnected world, it is crucial for us to cultivate diverse perspectives. When our students embark on their journeys into the world, we hope they will lead with empathy, communicate effectively, and become articulate advocate for important issues in our society.
And as we and the students grow with social emotional connections and connectivity and really increase our capacity, we know that it's imperative to continue to provide meaningful opportunities for rigorous academic growth and development. We are employing innovative instructional modes and fostering higher levels of student engagement with our following practices. Students' brain muscles are ready more than ever to be stretched, questioned, nudged, developed, clarified, supported, and extended. As a site, we're on track with our district process for our alignment and calibration in literacy. We've been planning and teaching with our grade level specific curriculum framework and roadmaps, including working towards our long-term transfer goals. We're so proud of our teams for working hard to keep grade level consistency, yet really have kind of that natural flow going and allow for individual creativity and flair. As a matter of fact, just last week, we worked on our first performance tasks. And so we're looking forward to really looking at the work, analyzing the work, and figuring out what the students are doing really well and how they're transferring their skills from those activities into this novel task.
As a school, we're continuing to learn and grow with clarity. From bottom to top, top to bottom, and side to side. We want students to thoroughly understand what they're learning, why they're learning it, and how they will know when they've learned it. We look through this clarity lens across initiatives, mind, and heart. The more we wrap our practices around this, allow students to take the lead, the more we will exceed our goals. Many of our teachers have been using depth and complexity icons. See it right there. Through years, we just had an opportunity to get a tune-up training overview, and we're eager to help our students to understand the power of these icons. These are the tools to help students label ideas, concepts, or connections across content areas and languages. These are some examples of how they're used to build understanding of what the icon means in the first grade, and also solving math problem of the day from our third grade, and for thinking through story elements for fourth grade. This will be just another way to support students in their journey to meeting our LUSD long-term transfer goal for critically analyzing information to understand the world around them.
Teaching science, technology, engineering, and math through an integrated STEM approach really inspires students to apply knowledge and skills to creative solutions. Just like Maya was saying, she likes hands-on learning. I agree, I'm like that too. This higher order design process is hands-on and engaging. And as you can see, it really allows students to utilize critical thinking skills, communication, problem solving, and collaboration, which we're wanting to have more of that human-to-human contact. We see students experimenting with static electricity down at the bottom left. We see students designing stabilized high-rise structures, conducting sink and float, different trials, testing force, calculating and analyzing data, collecting data, and inventing simple models and designs to prevent the negative effects of the sun, which is definitely something we need in our future here, right? In San Diego, sunny San Diego. So this is all just in the last couple months. So we're so proud of them, and we can tell that the students' futures are definitely bright.
So Riverview is known for immersion program, of course. Year after year, we're in awe with our students and how they're able to acquire and learn language in our immersion setting. They gain Spanish and Mandarin in addition to building foundational English skills. Our students listen, read, and write and speak. They're focusing on the 3 mode of communication, and we utilize the world language standards and actual proficiency level in order to monitor language progress. We also utilize music, movement, realia, visuals, and shared experiences, tickling our tongues with the language so they can flourish. Many students reach and exceeded grade level benchmarks growing from novice to intermediate, from kinder to 5th grade in 2nd language, and are enriched in the 3rd. We're cultivating biliterate and triliterate learners of the future.
We also have strong systems in place for intentional student support. We're able to provide students with differentiated small group instruction in the classrooms and have been working rigorously this year with our MTSS TOSA and our new KidWatch system to launch, support, and maintain data-driven Tier 2 reading intervention in 2 languages, in English and Spanish, with our Learning Academy teachers and aides at both campuses. We're really proud to say that we're in our 3rd week of a 3-week system session, and we've provided push out and pull in to about 100 readers to this point this year already. And we're seeing great progress in areas of phonics, decoding, retell, and fluency in both languages, which really just goes to show that when you focus on a key area, it makes a big difference. And so the smiles and confidence boosters that we see when we're working with our students are priceless. Just recently, our 5th graders completed the BizTown interview process, and they were well prepared and eager to persuade the audience why they should be picked for a certain job. And so just providing valid reasoning and persuasively expressing their ideas to a diverse audience, those are life skills they're going to need in the future. So it was really good to see them go through that process. And they are also working on applying another long-term goal that we have here in Lakeside for communication. And so as a matter of fact, this experience was momentous in ways that the students were able to showcase all characteristics of our student profile here in the district, from the researching process, from talking and collaborating to the actual interviews themselves. And I had the opportunity to be there and help facilitate it. And so we're very appreciative to our board members who were also there and were very important interview panel members. So thank you for doing that. We're also beyond blessed to have an active and supportive and super creative PTSA thinking outside the box the last couple of years. Our whole school community benefits from memorable experiences like the Red Ribbon Week activities that help promote healthy lifestyles, the Trunk or Treat Fund for the whole family. Let's see, we're also talking about book fairs, and we have the field trips and guest speakers. And even tonight, they're hosting a virtual bingo night. So somebody's out there saying bingo. We've also been teaming with the parent panel from PTSA, really looking at educating our parents. We have a topic coming up about helping to build English literacy at home when you have students in biliterate programs. So that's one of the things that we're currently working on. And then the big buzz is coming up. We have our school-wide Jogathon fundraiser. And so students are preparing for that and collecting support at the homes. And so we just want to really thank our PTSA and our parent volunteers for everything that they do for our school also. They help make the magic happen.
Yes, absolutely. As you can see, our team worked tirelessly for the good of each and every one of the students. The deep care, dedication, willingness to jump in and try something new and commit to our students is evident through and through. Our lifelong learners step up to the plate each day with each challenge, put the work and persevere and meet their goals and knock it out of the park. We know we cannot highlight every single incredible aspect of our school, but we hope you see, hear, and feel our sense of pride, steadfastness, and enthusiasm to elevate learning to the next level. Our students are our #1 priority, and that is what makes our school so special. To wrap this, we know, we love quotes. I love quotes too. Thank you to the STEAM board for providing this platform. We'd like to lead the word of Athlete of the Century and recipient of International Peace Award, Pele. The quote is, "Success is no accident. It is hard work, perseverance, learning, studying, sacrifice, and most of all, love of what you're doing or learning to do." This is a reminder for what it takes to succeed for our entire community, school community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much to both of you. Oh, trustee reports, fun.
Okay. 1 minute. Yeah, just a couple of things. I just wanted to remind everyone that the Lakeside Chamber is going to be hosting the Spirit of Christmas this December 4th. And it's a Saturday from 3:30 to 8:30 p.m. The chamber this year was blessed to receive lots of sponsorships for the event. And so thank you to all that has sponsored this great event. And to remind the community that the event is free. There's lots of free activities for the children. And we also want to let our PTAs know that there's still vendor opportunities available for some fundraising at this event if they'd like to. It's a great way. And we have great attendance. And we'd like to thank Steve Mall and all the teachers that will be providing the entertainment that evening at the Spirit of Christmas. Santa will arrive at 4:30 and tree lighting will be at the Historical Society at 5 p.m. So I just wanted to share that the chamber's looking forward to a great event, especially since we did get a lot of sponsors this year. So we're really happy about that. And then the other thing, I just want to thank all the teachers and the school sites. I've been given a new task this year to be collecting Christmas cards for the troops and delivering them to the USO. And so I want to thank all the secretaries and the schools that are helping me put those together so I can deliver them. And I'm hoping, the lady said last year they got 800, which was down from COVID, but I'm hoping to do more than 800, make her proud since she handed that baby off to me. That's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Bonnie. Laura?
Yeah, I've been busy with PTSA this last month. All the PTSAs have been getting going with all their activities, and I volunteered with the Lakeview PTSA for their trunk or treat, as well as the LMS dance with their PTSA for the snack bar. They had 450 students attend the dance this year for their opening Halloween dance, which is more than usual, but very exciting. And all the kids were so excited to be there and be participating, and have another dance coming up in December for the holidays. And then I also attended the LMS PTSA board meeting as well this week. So we're getting going on things.
Thank you, Laura. Don?
Well, in reading through, getting ready for the meeting tonight, I was reading through all the different spazas from the different school sites. In spaza, if for the people in the audience, there's a site plan for student achievement. Each school submits one, and they're copious. There was hundreds of pages when you read through them. But I wanted to just give a big thank you to the principals, their staffs, for taking the time to collect the data, disaggregate all the data into all their subgroups, and then look at the areas of that they're doing well and areas of need, and then making a plan to address the areas of need and setting attainable goals where these students, like subgroups of students and other students, can attain. So I know our focus is on achievement for all kids, and these spots has really reflected that. So I want to give a shout out to all the principals and all the staffs for all their hard work on creating their plans for student achievement at each of the school sites. Great job.
Thank you, Don. Andrew?
Well, I really enjoyed BizTown with Riverview. It was a lot of fun, and it was great to have. I think I interviewed 7 or 8 students, and one of them wanted to be mayor. So I thought that was pretty awesome. And I asked them if Lakeside had a mayor, and they said, well, no, they actually knew it was a county thing. So I thought that was pretty cool. So I love that. So we're teaching them the right thing in civics. So I love that. I was also at a school site, Lemoncrest. I went to Lemoncrest, had a lot of fun visiting there. I went to TDS, and Don was actually there with me that day, and they had a fun event, H2O Go. And I felt like I was going to be a target of like a water balloon or something, because I was in a suit and my slacks, and I was like, man, the students are going to target me. So anyway, it was a lot of fun to see them having fun on a Friday. And I also went to Riverview as well and walked around with Ms. Cox, and that was nice to see all the students in the classroom learning and enjoying reading. I walked through as they were reading some different books, and it was just nice to see that. And then I was also at LMS, and I enjoyed just walking through some classrooms there, seeing lunchtime and having a good conversation with Mr. Mull. And I also enjoyed seeing on Facebook all the different Halloween events that were going on around the district on Halloween. So it was nice to see the kids having fun and participating over the weekend at their school sites. A couple other things I just want to briefly touch on. The first thing is, for those in the audience, there is a process going on at the county and state level of redistricting our different legislative districts, whether it be county or state legislative or Congress. And the reason I want to bring that up is only because as our school district, we're a community of interest, and a couple of those maps actually divide our school district in half and place where we have our charter school in Verona in a completely separate county supervisorial district and a completely separate legislative district, which could make it difficult for us if we need to go and advocate for resources. We have to go and advocate to numerous different people, as opposed to the single folks we build relationships with now and actually have had for decades. So if you want to take a look at that, they're all online. At the state level, it's WeDrawTheLinesCA.org, and at the county level, it's just the San Diego County Redistricting Commission. But I do strongly advise you go take a look, and if you're so inclined, make a comment. I have certainly commented as an individual board member my concerns about the division of the district. So I wanted to bring that up. The other thing I just wanted to address is my lingering and consistent concerns with the vaccine mandate coming from the state. We still are not really aware of what that framework's going to look like, although we know that it's coming. So I certainly want to push on asking the state for some local flexibility. And so I'm excited that CSBA is having our annual delegate assembly in December. And so I'm excited to talk with some of my friends from across the state to see how they're going to be advocating for their districts and their families, because I think it's important that we look at that. And then just the last thing that I've been looking at, I'm sure you have seen it, the State Board of Education is looking at a new math framework, and there's some discussion going on about that. And so I'm reading through their framework, and I'm interested in seeing where that's going to go. So thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. I also had a great time with the BizTown interviews from Riverview. The kids were cute and had a lot of fun talking with them. I visited the new TDS gym going in. It's beautiful. I've been by Lakeside Farms and looked at their new office building that's coming up. Also looks great. I visited over at Eucalyptus Hills, and I was lucky enough to be there when they were working in the garden, and it was really fun to see those kids digging in the garden. And I also want to thank the principals for all the hard work they put in on the site plans. So, moving on, we have time for public comment. Lisa?
Our first speaker is Jennifer Thorpe.
Hi, Jennifer. I'll remind everyone that we can't comment on what the speakers speak to us about, but we are here to listen.
I'm Jennifer. I'm sure you know already. Again, we stand here as parents pleading for our kids. Nothing, hoping you will somehow make a decision to do what is right. We're hoping that this is the meeting you'll set aside your politics and allegiance to unions or Sacramento or the person sitting next to you. We stand here speaking on non-agenda items, knowing you won't engage us, knowing your minds are made up, knowing your colleagues will still be your friends when you leave the room. All the while we leave here with our heads hung low, defeated and tired, and one more time, trying to get you to understand our position. We've yelled, we've cried, we've begged, we've posted, we've formed groups. Nothing has gotten through. No vote has gone our way. Our policy enforcement on the mandates borders on abuse, and you continue to sit as we stand here, knowing at the end of the day, whatever agenda you have, at the end of the day will still be your agenda. We've stood up here spouting off numbers. Oh, I'm sorry. One more thing. I think anything that has risk should be a choice. We stood up here spouting off numbers of those risks, pleading for your common sense to kick in and for your human side to connect with our words. And when the dinger goes off and my time is up, you breathe a sigh of relief. Another parent down. Here we go again. I've never stood up here emotional or mean to you. I've always given you respect regardless of what I want to say. I've always made sure that my words are congruent with the engagement, which is a board meeting. But today you need to know what your enforcement has done to my son. Gavin has always been a little quirky. He loves people. It's obvious. He talks to you about absolutely anything. He would never purposely engage negatively with teachers. He's now full of anxiety. He has no motivation. He cares about nothing important. And the only thing you have done for him this year is kick him out for 12 days of ridiculous quarantine, not giving him the opportunity to test and come back, not allowing him the opportunity to stay caught up with work through virtual learning. And his mask exemption was pretty much laughed at by his principal because I wouldn't sign a medical record waiver and allow you to interrogate his doctor. You make him feel less than when he needs a breather from a musty cloth over his face, and when he's just about had it, takes off his mask, you put him in a room by himself. Every single one of you, Laura and Andrew included, can you use your authority to stop this madness, but you don't. You speak up when you're supposed to, vote like we know you will, and you sit on your words when you can clearly speak up and motion to add something to the agenda, demand the trustee president address the parent who elected her, or just plain reject the rigid confines of this meeting rules and be a human, but you don't, and you won't. And for this reason, you should be ashamed. I used to believe that your position was to enforce mandates and policies that you had no control over. I felt sorry for it, but you and I both know that's not the truth. In fact, you had the authority all along to set local policy on the quarantining of our kids. We didn't know that. The state's filing in opposition of the plaintiff Let Them Breathe ex parte application admits that the quarantine and testing protocols are not required. Regardless of who the can is kicked to, you have an obligation to uphold the wishes of your constituents. When we first met, Rhonda, you told me that you had no control over the issues and it was out of your hands. You talked about getting sued, insurance cancellations, and never mentioned the quarantines. This boils down to us trusting you, and we just don't. We feel like we've been jerked around with legal jargon. You sent letters literally telling parents that if we break your enforcement policy, you would send them home. You have given us no scientific reasons. The state clearly has given you direction that this is just a recommendation for quarantining. Whatever happened to the letter that was requesting clarification. Did they clarify the choice is yours? And did you forget to tell us? Did the letter clarify something that was important to us parents? Did that letter even get sent? And here we are almost halfway through November and we still have no answers from you and no relief for our kids.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Amber Marchland.
Welcome, Amber.
Hello, my name is Amber Marchand, first time speaker, but I'm a Lakeside mother of three. I have a fifth grader and two eighth graders coming to you today because like many of us, our kids are being directly affected, and until it hits home, it's something that we basically lay in wait for. Come to you today as a concerned parent who's been labeled as a threat or a domestic terrorist, depending on who you talk to, because I stand up for the rights of my children. I'd like to address the verbal policies, and I say verbal as I have not been provided anything in writing after weeks of emails and phone calls to and from my child's school about your close contact COVID exposure isolation policy. My oldest was a direct exposure on a Wednesday. She attended school Thursday, Friday, Monday, and Tuesday. So a full 144 hours or double the amount of exposure time for symptoms to show up. Tuesday after school, I received a phone call from the vice principal stating because of her direct contact, she would have to remain at home till the following Tuesday since she was unvaccinated. I said I would take her to get a negative test that day as it's been double the 72-hour symptom time, and that I'm positive she did not have COVID. I was told it doesn't matter. She's of vaccination age, and because she's unvaccinated, she must stay at home. Then I questioned, well, she was at school for a full 4 days being a direct contact. So are all of the kids she was in contact with being isolated as well? The VP said no, that they're only tracking the confirmed case direct contacts, and there would be no way to isolate all others who are possible contacts of my daughter because the whole school would probably end up at home. So tell me, if you're so worried after 144 hours and no symptoms that my child has COVID and needs to stay home, why are you not worried about the other kids that she was around for those 4 days? I also received an email stating that anyone vaccinated may return to school the following day as normal. Pfizer, Moderna, and J&J have stated that the vaccine may lower the risk of contracting and passing COVID. So it's okay for a vaccinated person who may have COVID to return to school and pass. But someone who is unvaccinated and test negative must stay home. Where is the logic? Where is the science? It didn't sit right with me and it didn't make sense. I decided to call a Lakeside Elementary School to see what their protocol was, since kids are not yet old enough to receive the vaccine there. The school told me that the child may return to school the next day with a negative test. So tell me, where is the logic and where is the science? Why is my child being treated like a second-class citizen because she has told her school, I refuse to be vaccinated? There's no schoolwork provided for my child while she was out, yet the school got paid for her to be there. She's also on an IEP, and it's written in there that she is not to have independent study, yet was penalized for all of the missing work when she was forced to stay home. I've gone weeks going back and forth with all of her teachers, zero response, nothing. I can't get anything in writing. Her advocate finally spoke up and was able to get all of that excused after I pulled education codes for her from the IEP. Upon returning to school the next week, she spoke about the unfair treatment she received because she wasn't vaccinated. One of her teachers flat out said, I moved my test day because they decided not to show up. This was the Monday where a lot of kids missed school. My children are individuals who are allowed to think for themselves. They're allowed to question the information they're given, whether it's because they don't understand the information or because they have a different point of view. Not all of us are asleep, although I know that most of you wish we were. There are some of us who are raising strong individuals who are taught to follow the facts and then make the right decisions for themselves. My children have been targeted at school because they don't fit into your little box and are not brainwashed. Please start doing your jobs. Teach our kids how to think, not what to think.
Thank you. Hi, David.
Like Diogenes in 350 BC, going around in the daylight looking for an honest man, I'm here today looking for a few good people that have the courage to stand up for the insanity that's going on. I didn't know these ladies were going to come up here and talk, but it's exactly what I'm going to talk about. I'm David Hardwick. I teach school in Lakeside Middle School, been there for 40 years. My point of being here is that teachers are going to be fired. Like Occam's razors, if you strip away all the noise about the pandemic, and it's not a viral pandemic anymore, we all know it's political, but you strip away everything from the noise, you're left with good people, teachers, CSEA employees, kids not being able to go, so their teachers are going to be fired for the mere reason that they want to exercise their constitutional rights of individual freedoms. I'm saddened and hurt by my own colleagues who remain silent and stand by and will allow teachers to be fired for exercising their constitutional rights of individual freedoms. I'm perplexed because my call to my colleagues and leadership would say, well, you have a choice, you have a career choice. You be vaccinated or you can quit. After working with children and teaching children for 40 years, that was the response I got. My question is, okay, those that are vaccinated make a career choice. If you're too afraid to come and teach children because you think someone's going to give you the virus, then quit. I have a wife who's been a nurse for 30 years. I have a sister who's been a nurse for 40 years, still working, doing all the research. I did all my research. Can a person who's vaccinated get COVID? Yes. Can they transmit it? Yes. Does the vaccine significantly minimize your chances of getting COVID? No. Does the vaccine help you fight COVID if you get it? Of course, yes. So then tell me, how is an unvaccinated person who tests once a week, who wears a mask, who is polite in public to others, constantly wearing a mask, a risk to anybody else? They're not. As a parent of a child who's in 8th grade, I'm not going to get my child vaccinated. I come from good genes. My parents lived in their late 90s. I have a strong immune system, and I'm not going to put something that is not FDA approved. And don't tell me it's FDA approved. It's not. It's not FDA approved. The FDA approved the emergency authorization only. Comirnaty is only approved for outside the United States. You can't get it here. So I'm tired of saying it's FDA approved. It's not. It's emergency. We don't know the long-term effects. But everybody here should know that by reading up on it. Put the politics aside, put the government aside who's trying to force something on us. That's illegal. It's not law. This mandate is not law. So I'm asking the Board of Trustees here to form a coalition of school districts, mainly in East County, because we know what San Diego City schools are like, to come together as one and stop the mad mandate insanity. Become the beacon of hope for those of us who know right from wrong and who just want to teach children in order to become successful. When I say teach, I also mean the custodians, the secretaries, because they also teach children. Maybe not in a curriculum setting, but they teach children how to behave, also how to deal with adults, but they also care for children as well. Otherwise, if we don't, soon teachers will be fired. And they'll lose their life ambition, as Pele mentioned in his quote, the love of what they are doing. So, in ending, we're all Americans here. We want to do the right thing, but it'd be a shame for people to get fired for exercising their constitutional right of individual freedom. And thank you for your time.
Brian Flitcraft.
First person to get that right.
Welcome, Brian.
Hello, my name is Brian Flickcraft. I'm here for my son and my daughter who's not yet in school, but will be, and if all this stuff continues. it's going to be a problem for her too. The fact that I have to even be here tonight to debate the mandates that are unconstitutional is completely outrageous to me. One of the most important jobs of an educator is to protect our children. There is no science, small s, behind the injecting kids with an experimental drug. The product that we are being coerced into taking is not a vaccine, as proven by the fact that the government had to change the definition of vaccine in order to make these fit their cause. At best, this is a therapeutic. At worst, it's a trash product that doesn't even work. I'm going with the latter on this one. We don't know any of the long-term effects of this drug on kids. Even one of the doctors of the FDA who approved the use of this drug on kids, Dr. Eric Rubin, said, quote, "We are never going to learn how safe this vaccine is unless we start giving it. That's just the way it goes." My child will not be a guinea pig, or in Dr. Fauci's case, a beagle to these sick, evil people making these edicts from on high in their ivory towers of science with a capital S. The drug has already proven not to work in adults. According to the data from the WHO, in the first 4 weeks of October 2021, we had 69% more COVID cases and 89% more COVID deaths. Do the math. If you, depending on where you look, you're 70 to 80% of adults in America are vaccinated, 85% more deaths this year. It's not just the unvaccinated. Our founding fathers fought for our rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. These rights were given to us by God, and no government can take these rights from us. We started tonight with the Pledge of Allegiance. So you guys understand from your civics lessons in school, that's what they fought for us. And tonight, I pledge my life, my fortune, and my sacred honor to fight this tyrannical government overreach into our lives. And if you think the mama bears that have been showing up here every week are bad, wait till all the papa bears show up. You won't know what hit you. Thank you.
Bianca Stanley.
Welcome, Bianca.
Here we are again, all of us with the same plea of leaving the choices affecting our child's medical and overall well-being up to us parents. I want to know why we are still here. Why are we still having to fight for our children? Who gave you the power to make those choices for us? I can promise you it wasn't anyone standing in this room. Why haven't you as a board members heard enough to make you want to stop the tyranny and stand up for our future? At this point, what's it going to take for you to get up and start fighting? I, along with so many other parents, have been forced to start exploring other learning alternatives for our children, which is infuriating and scary. I personally don't want to remove my child from his school. He loves his teachers and the support staff at his school. He has made friends. He's doing so well in the immersion program, and I have no fear other than you board members when he is at school. I know the staff at the school does everything in their power to make sure the children on site are cared for and safe. What I hate is that I have to talk to my sweet, smart, innocent 6-year-old son and tell him that if anyone tried to give you a shot at school, you kick, hit, bite, run, scream, and get the hell out of wherever you are as fast as you possibly can. This is against every single thing I have worked so damn hard as a parent to instill in him to make him a good human. I have showed him safe places to run to that are off campus. He has memorized my phone number, and he knows no matter where I am, I will be there to fight for him. I will be there to fight for any of these kids. These aren't things that I was ever talked to about growing up in this public school system. So why are you board members allowing it to be something parents are having to talk to our children about? Why are you making it so hard for our children to feel safe at school and get the education they deserve without interruption? Why are you not fighting for our rights as parents? Our children are not science experiments or walking dollar signs. And if you for 1 second think they should be in order to protect others, you have no right sitting in those chairs. Our children have been proven endlessly not to be spreaders, and more information continues to come out as to why this vaccine is not only unnecessary for children, but it's unsafe for them. We are asking for choice. Why is that too much? What I hate the most about all of this is how ugly it has made people, myself included. I'm not someone who enjoys confrontation. I don't enjoy making people feel insignificant or incapable, but I'll be damned if you think you know our children better than we do and think you are entitled to make medical choices because of the position you are in and the mandates that leave you no choice. It's not a law. You have a choice. Now is the time to realign your moral compass and crap or get off the pot and let other people who are willing to fight for the parents, not against them.
Thank you. Lisa?
The last speaker is Tyler Weekly.
Welcome, Tyler.
Hello. There's not much I could say that you haven't heard already. Born and raised here. My son's in the Spanish immersion program. He loves it. He loves going to school. He loves learning a second language. So I'm saying that if you force this vaccine, he's out. You're not putting it in his arm whatsoever. But I feel bad for all the other kids that don't have all these awesome parents here speaking out for them, forcing them to take it. They don't have any other options. I have options. I can take them out, put them in private school. I own property. I can make my own school. But other kids, they don't have that option. So it's not only for my son, everyone else's kids, it's for every kid. How are they going to experiment this on our kids? It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable to me that you can force something on a parent or on a child without a parent's consent and not getting this awesome education that you guys are here for, right? You guys are here for education. So forcing this on kids, a lot of these kids are out, no education. We're going to do it on our own. So stand up for what's right. Stick to education. That's what you guys are good at. Let parents be parents. If you force this, a lot of kids are going to be out. And I feel bad for the other kids that do not have parents that will stick up for their own children. Just don't do it. That's it.
Is it too late to speak?
Do we have any more speakers?
We fast?
You can,
I know, I
you can,
was
you
in
can,
the other board meeting and
you can speak. Go ahead.
it's okay. I actually put mine in before the board meeting.
You can speak too.
I did it online.
It's all right. Either way, you can speak. It's not a problem. Go ahead.
Okay.
Welcome.
Hi, my name is Nicole Air. I have a kid at Riverview. I just want to back up what he's saying. I am a part of Moments for Freedom, as you can see. Rachel, Miranda Joe, they put this together 2 months ago on Facebook. There was like 40 or so concerned parents. They got together. I was like, I don't know what the heck is happening, but we need to kind of see what our options are. Do you know how many there are today? 1,600 families. 1,600 families that are not going to do this. 1,600 families that are not going to put up with this. And so that projected what are we going to do? We had a tiny little taste of what homeschooling was like with this COVID, and that whatever homeschool thing that you had us do with the stupid iPad, none of that was okay. None of that worked. My kid is so behind. I have 3 tutors to catch him up. And I'm assuming that you are hoping that because it's such a big thing that we would just back off and be like, well, we'll do whatever. We'll just go with the program. But no, we have several other families that are putting together things called micro schools or pods. And just like Tyler was saying, he has a private place that we can all meet together and hire our own teacher without public money. We don't need your money. And when we put these pods together, we hire our own teacher. And this teacher teaches groups of 10, which they'll have more individual interaction. Thank you. More individual interaction. And these pods, they've done the math on them, and it is as low as $7 a day for the parents to put these kids in these pods. It's a cappuccino. I know I can do that. I know these 1,600 families can do that. And when I say families, I only have one kid. They have 2, 3, however many kids that they have in this district. I know I can afford it. My question is, can you? Can you genuinely afford to lose us? Because we are not going to do it. We are not going to allow you to put this in our children. So we will figure this out. And we have figured this out. And families together, we're going to be stronger together than we are individually. So thank you.
It's Brittany Cobb. Oh.
What was your name? Nikki, Nicole Ayer, Ayer. Thank you.
For those of you that don't know me, I'm Brittany Cobb. I have been a part of the school district for 11 years. Up until this year, I pulled all 4 of my children from the school district due to mask mandates. They are now in private school, but I will continue to fight for the kids in Lakeside. I love Lakeside. I love our small town. I love our teachers. It is heartbreaking to hear our teachers up here fighting for their jobs. These are teachers you don't want to lose. I have been so proud of our schools. I have involved myself in every aspect of them up until now. You all took an oath to protect our children. I don't know what world we're living in that we want our children to now protect you. It is not our children's job to protect you. It's your job to protect them. We're looking at a vaccine mandate. A mandate is not law. Why would we inject our children to protect the elders? I am not anti-vax. I am pro-vax. My kids are all vaccinated. I'm vaccinated. This vaccine has not been around long enough. I am looking forward to days that I get to be a grandma one day. I will not ever put my children's lives at risk to protect somebody else's. It's not their job. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Good. Okay. Thank you, all of you. Dr. Taylor is going to give a district update.
Oh, I need somebody to let go of it so I can get the Apple TV. Yeah. Am I using the podium or the? Oh, okay, I got you. Different. AirPlay. So I am here tonight. This is very timely to give the update to the vaccination proposed mandates that are coming down the pike. And so this is actually good information for our speakers here, and I'm glad that you're still here. So I'm going to talk about the timelines and the things that we have that are coming down from the state at this point. So the timing is looking somewhat like this. Oh gosh, come on. I can't do this. So we have the FDA approval and recommendations that will be happening. And so all of this has to come into place. There's some clarifications I want to make a little bit later on. But our best estimate of the timeline that this would take place is January or July 1st of 2022 would be the time that they would have FDA approval, and they would have all of the verbiage and the mandates in place for us to have to look at this. So the implications for our students and how this happens is this is the same form that we have for the other vaccinations that the children have to be able to enter school. And so you have them listed here, and they're the usual ones that we're all used to, but where this vaccine falls into play is in number 11, any other disease deemed appropriate by the department, taking into consideration the recommendations and advisory committee practices of the United States Department of Health and Human Services, the American Academy of Pediatrics, and the American Academy of Physicians. So we do have, in light of not having the vaccination mandate yet, we have testing in place for our employees that are to test weekly if they are not vaccinated. The students will be tested here if they are sent to quarantine, and they can have an option where they provide 2 tests and can return to school, regardless of vaccination status. At the time of the mandate goes into effect for students, it will also be in effect for the employees. I need this bar to go somewhere else. Okay, so what this means for students and for our parents here, the US Food and Drug Administration, they did authorize an emergency use of the Pfizer COVID vaccine. So I have been in contact with several of the parents, and one parent, Mr. James Cassidy, sent me some information that says that the state cannot mandate an emergency approval of a vaccination. It has to wait for the full FDA. And so I was grateful for that information that we were looking at that. All of that being said, we're still looking at July for probably full FDA approval. And at that point, the state can impose the mandate. It talks about the Pfizer shot. I found this information on EdSource, so that's my source there, being this type of vaccine, which does not have, it's not like a flu shot where it gives you a milder inactive use of a flu. It has, it's called a spike protein to trigger your body to create the immunities for this particular protein, which is the COVID vaccination. This is the science that I have, and there's some other stuff, so hang on for it. Why is it not working? Okay, so there is some confusion right now. So now they're saying that, I have to get this pronunciation right, Comirnaty is taking the place of this Pfizer BioNTech vaccine that's in place right now. So this is, some people are saying it's a different version of the vaccination that has, I think that's what Mr. Hartwig was speaking to. However, in reading it, I'm not seeing where it's different, and I'm willing to do more research to look at that, but I'm seeing that the BioNTech is going to be renamed this other thing, the Comirnaty. So then it says that it also, right now, it has emergency authorization for individuals 5 years of age or older as of today. However, again, it's an emergency authorization. It's not a full authorization. It is also, I found that it works on the same spike protein as the original, or as the BioNTech. So it's that same spike protein. It's not a injection of an actual virus. Okay, so this is what's coming at us from the state. So we're watching this. We don't have any exemption guidelines at this point. They have not given us any so far. So what we're planning to do in response to this is to watch what's going on, to keep monitoring it. We are working on an expanded and robust and independent study education setting. And this session will have a little bit more increased teacher time. Then we want to just really expand it and make it very robust. What we do not plan to do, and I've been hearing some wild stuff, but we're not planning on pulling students from classes and vaccinating them against their will. We would never do that. And we are not planning to deploy drones to shoot darts containing the vaccination at students on the playground. I've literally heard that. So that's the information that we have in regard to the vaccine so far and the timeline. That's what I can offer you as far as a timeline. We will keep monitoring it and keep our eyes on it. And so does the board have any questions?
So can I elaborate a little bit on what I understand the process to be with respect to the exemption process, just from what I understand?
Sure.
So at the state level, the governor, when he came down and said, hey, I want to push this on local districts, he's doing it by, emergency use. That's what he's saying. Well, that has a different function by state law, SB 277, which was a bill that laid out that, as you saw in Dr. Taylor's presentation, the 10 different forced vaccines that you have to receive before you come to school. Then you have 11. And so what he's doing is based in that bill, that was SB 277, 2015. Back in that bill, it provided him with that opening to say, we're going to make a mandate for schools. Now, here's a very important component for parents. Because of that, in this law, there is a requirement for the CDPH to issue what's called rulemaking on personal belief exemptions and medical exemptions. That is what's in code. So what we know about the governor's mandate is that there must be, as it stands now, an exemption framework that the CDPH puts together. Now, here's a big caveat, and what I'm frankly very concerned about. The legislature could override it, make a law in January. So when we look at this, we really have to fight for the exemption framework and look at that. So I just want to provide some additional context because there's two prongs here. So I wanted to add that so that there's some clarity, because this slide was a result of SB 277 in 2015. So I just think folks should know that moving forward, and what that law laid out the requirements of what the governor's mandate is at this moment. And so, that's what we can look at this moment on that. So I just wanted to throw that out there and add that extra legal kind of code context for those who might wonder.
Anybody else have any questions?
So you said you would pull them from class.
We can't take questions from you, only from the board. Okay, then we will move on to Dr. Reed.
Madam Chair, before
we
do that.
Okay.
Could I just make a comment that if you do have questions on that, please send that to Superintendent Taylor so that we can get an answer.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Andrew.
Okay. Thank you. And thank you for the opportunity to share our fall data. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to share with you the data that we've collected, and then kind of give you an idea of what I'd like to bring to you in the winter. And then maybe get from you an idea of if this is the data you were looking for, if you'd like to see something else. So there'll be an opportunity at the end for you to give me that input. So if you could maybe take some notes as we're going through here. If there's something that I haven't answered for you in terms of data, let me know, and I'll make sure to include that either in a follow-up to this meeting or in the winter, for the winter. Okay. So you know that we have LCAP goals and our LCAP, thank you. And our LCAP, I was muted. Our LCAP goals are written in tiers. So tier 1 is the instruction that we provide to students that will be effective for 95% of students. And then so the work that we're doing there is the alignment and calibration work that you've heard so much about. And then the performance task that we're building. The tier 2 looks like universal screeners and evidence-based interventions and progress monitoring. You know this because it's spelled out in the LCAP. And then the support we're providing is the teachers on special assignment, the adopted interventions, the Learning Academy teachers that we paid for out of the Expanded Learning Opportunities Grant, and the instructional aids that go along with it. So in our LCAP, we set some goals for where we would like to be in 2023-24. So the first couple of slides are talking about where we are now, several years from that, and where we'd like to be in 2023-24. So on the left is I'm getting this data because we did not take the CASP last year. I'm getting this data from NWEA MAP, our universal screener that we adopted several years ago. So on the left, you'll see our 2021 mean RIT score, and RIT score is the Rausch index that MAP uses to measure students. Not students, measure their academics. And then the numbers here represent the grade levels. And then if you look over to the right-hand column, these are the national norms that the goals that we've set. So we set the goal that we want our students to meet the national norm. Again, these are goals that we set this year. The LCAP is a living document so that we can revisit the LCAP and reset our goals if we need to, but this is where our goals sit right now. So our goal for second grade is a norm of 181, and our students currently, again, several years away from 2024, is 177. So that's how that graph works. You can kind of look down and get a quick visual to see that third grade is pretty close, as well as 6th, 7th, and 8th. And then second, 4th, and 5th are farther away. We have time. This is the same measure for math. Again, on the left is the grade levels and their current, I'm saying current, I mean winter. So the assessments that we gave this winter, not the fall that we just gave. I want to remind you that we did set our goals from winter to winter. We found that was a more valid, reliable measure for us. So our goals are 184 for second, all the way down to 228 for 8th grade. And you can see from the bars, we've got some grade levels that are close, some grade levels that have a little bit more work to do than other grade levels. Again, we have several years to meet these goals. And I would say that if we continue, if we do work and we start meeting those goals, then we probably need to adjust so that we're surpassing the national norm, which we're Lakeside, we can do that. Okay, so now I want to talk to you about percentiles, and I'm going to apologize in advance because some of the graphs that I'm going to show you in the next become a little bit tedious, but it's important that you see the relationships. So when we talk about percentiles, we're talking about where a student stands in relation to on a scale of 100 students. So for example, if a score is in the 20th percentile, that means that 20% of all the other scores that recorded were lower than that. Does that make sense? Okay. So for reading, and this is the fall map, the assessment that we just gave. So you can see where we are for third grade is in the 50th percentile, meaning that half the scores in this norm, or half of the scores that were recorded were below that, and half the scores across the nation were above that. Third grade, we're in the 56th percentile. We're in the 48th in fourth, 42nd, we dropped down to 33rd percentile in sixth, 45th percentile in seventh, and the 29th percentile in 8th grade. So the next slide will demonstrate where we were this time last year. So the caveat I'm going to give you here is these aren't the same students. We're not comparing the students as they progress. We're comparing the students
that we assessed in these grade levels the fall of this year versus the students that we assessed that were in that grade level fall of last year. Not the same cohort of students. That makes sense? Stop me if you need, these are complicated, so stop me if you need something clarified. So here was fall of 2021. And this is fall of 2022, so same time last year. And you'll see that, and this is our all student group, so across the board, you'll see that we were this time last year at the 63rd percentile, and we're now at the 50th percentile. So we lost some ground in third grade. We didn't lose any ground. We just a little bit of ground. Fourth grade, we were at the 58th percentile. Now we're at the 48th percentile. Fifth grade. Last year, we were at the 63rd percentile, and now we've dropped down to the 42nd percentile. Does that make sense? All the way down to eighth grade, where we were at the 64th percentile, and now we're at the 29th percentile. Okay. All right, let's look at the same for math. You can see where we are. This is our current score, 2021. Scores that we just ran, and you can see the scores are lower than in English and ELA. So I'll just give you a quick minute to look at that. You can see we're in the, in the 22nd percentile, 32nd percentile, and then let's compare to where we were last year. And here's an anomaly. For second grade, we actually grew this year compared to last year. Third grade, we were at the 63rd percentile, and we dropped to 38th percentile. Fourth grade, fifth grade, sixth grade, we stayed about the same. You can see there's some slight differences, but not enough to bump us up a percentile at 10th. For seventh grade, we were in the 40th percentile, and now we're at 32nd, and 42nd percentile, we are at the 36th. Okay, so that's looking at all of our students. It's important to now disaggregate so that we understand where our student groups are. Okay, so let's start with our students of economic disadvantage. We have roughly, I'm going to say 52% of our students are students of economic disadvantage. So we're talking about a significant amount of students here. And these are our fall MAP scores. So we're in this, the highest percentile that we reached was the 26th percentile in third grade. So let's compare this to where we were last year. And you can see some significant drops. So as a whole, doesn't look too bad. When we carve out our students of economic disadvantage, we see some significant drops. Okay. In math, this is where we are this year. Okay, and then compared to this time last year, all right, so those are students of economic disadvantage. Here are students with disabilities. This time this year and last year. So you can see that even though I don't have there wasn't enough change to for a bar to be covered, you can see that we were for third grade, we were at the 12th percentile and dropped to fourth. Fourth grade, 12th percentile, we dropped to second. So relatively speaking, some decreases there as well. Okay, here's the same chart for math. And you can see that currently our students with disabilities are almost every grade level is in the first percentile as compared to last year. So again, some first percentile to third percentile. So I'll pause here. I know you've heard me say this before. It is a misnomer that students with disabilities cannot achieve growth. It is a misnomer. That is not, it's not accurate. The students are qualified for disability when there's a discrepancy between what they're cognitively capable of doing, what they're actually doing in class. Our students with disabilities are cognitively capable. A majority of them are cognitively capable. And I'm in many cases, our special day class students, there could be a different story there. But for our SP students, they're cognitively capable of they just need the scaffolds and the supports to be able to overcome a specific learning disability in many cases. So I just want to make that clear. I don't want us to disregard this data because they're students with disabilities. They are capable of making the growth, and what we're seeing is they're not. English language learners, reading. This is where they currently sit. And you see the asterisks when there weren't enough students to, it has to be over a certain percentage for us to be able to report the students, and there weren't enough in 6th and 8th. That's why there's no data there. And so you can see the decline there. Okay. Here's math for our English language learners. And again, you see some declines. Okay. Okay, let's look at national norms. So the next group of data we're going to be talking about is national norms. And they compare and they rank the testers in relation to one another. That's what we mean by norms. So, so if you look at the blue bar, that's fall of 2020, the red bar is fall of 2021, and the line is the national norm. And you see that for our all student group, if we looked at our all student group, we would say, hey, that's not too awful, right? Our English language learners, you can see that's where the gaps start to come in. That's what we mean by the achievement gap. Here's our students with disabilities. Interestingly, many of our students with disabilities outscore our English language learners. And here's our socioeconomically disadvantaged. And that was reading. Let's look at math. And again, you can see, so for our students with disabilities from fall of 2020 to fall of 2021, just some really some significant drops. Okay, so this one is socioeconomically disadvantaged. This one is English language learners compared to the all student group. Okay. So MAP has a tool that projects proficiency on the CASP, and we do anticipate that we'll be taking the CASP this year. And so based on this current administration, the fall of 2021 administration, this is the projected proficiency on the CASP. And for math, we can see that we expect MAP predicts that 11% of our students will exceed the standard and 23 will meet, leaving 34 and 32% of students not meeting the standard. In English language arts, again, 72.7 should exceed, 29.8 should meet, leaving 27 and 24% of students projected to not meet. Student risk screening scale. So this is we've talked to you about this before. This is our universal screener that we use to assess students' socio-emotional well-being. So here are the results for our student risk screening scale. And I only gave you the students that were at high risk. So we administered in fall, we'll do this again in the winter, we'll do this again in spring, but currently you see that Tierra del Sol, 8% of students that were screened, which is the whole, every student, 8% of those students were of high overall risk. Lakeside Farms, 8.7, 9.3 at Lemoncrest, Riverview, 2.3, and Flex, 2.7. Lakeside Middle Schools, 2%. 8.7 at Winter Gardens, 7.1 at Lakeview, and 8.9 at Lindo Park. So I'll remind you that our schools with the concentration, with the heaviest concentration of students of low socioeconomic status, besides the middle schools, are Lemoncrest, again, 9.3, Lindo Park, 8.9. Lakeside Farms is a Title I school as well. Okay. Before I talk about the winter data, just a little bit of analysis on my part. I think we looked at data before, and what we saw was it really didn't look too bad, right? We looked at our data before we had the extended periods of COVID, and we saw that our English language learners actually grew a little bit, and the learning loss just it wasn't too bad. You can see that the extended amount of time that our students were trying to learn in this COVID environment has had a negative impact, particularly on our students of socioeconomic disadvantage, our English language learners, and our students with disabilities. That's the reason that we monitor these groups so heavily, that we want to always make sure that we're keeping an eye on these groups, because it's not enough to just look at our overall student groups. We need to look at our student groups and disaggregate the data. That's why you saw in the SPSAs, every SPSA had a plan for their students with disabilities. They had a plan for their English language learners. They had a plan for their students of low socioeconomic status. So what I plan to bring you the next time we meet, I plan to bring you growth from this administration, from fall to winter. So just that short term, I plan to bring you that. Then I want to bring you the previous winter to winter, and that is the pivotal data point in our LCAP. We look at winter to winter. So I'll bring you that. Then we'll look at the reclassification rates. On the LCAP, that's one of the metrics that we said we were going to use to determine whether we were meeting our goals. I'll bring you that. I'll bring you the student risk screening scale. And at this point, we'll have suspension data and a chronic absenteeism. I can bring you that in winter as well. So I'll ask, what questions do you have about the data that I presented here today? And what other data do you feel like we need for our next meeting?
I don't know. Thank you for presenting this. What I was going to say is, even we were comparing apples and oranges because they were different cohorts each year. Even if you went diagonally from the 7th, to see there was great loss in most of those groups too. And so COVID really affected groups, like you said, the socioeconomically disadvantaged kids. And I'm wondering, access to the Zoom classroom or the really had an effect. So I'm glad that kids are back in school, and I'm hopefully optimistic that the scores will come up again with them being back in school.
Yeah, that's a great point. I would say I'm so thankful that our board was able to bring our students back as soon as we did. I think that the fact that we were able to bring our students back into in-person instruction when many other districts were still in distance learning, I think mediated some of the learning loss.
I think the one question I would have is, we're seeing some of these gaps, very likely because of COVID. So I am excited to see, the comparison from winter to winter now. So I'm excited for that you're going to bring that forward. When we were looking at this data before, we had sort of said, hey, we need to put some additional supports in place moving forward so that we can help mitigate that. Could you just explain some of those things that we're doing so that we can keep growth moving and actually maybe fill in the gaps?
Absolutely. The LCAP, the Local Control Accountability Plan that the board approved, includes an allocation of 2 intervention teachers at every site and an intervention aide. That came out of the Expanded Learning Opportunities Grant. So every site has these 2 full-time intervention teachers. And they have an aide that is part-time PBIS, so working on the socio-emotional aspect, and part-time academic support. So we've also, over the summer, we piloted a couple of intervention tools. One of those is a systematic phonics program that we had some good results, and it's research and evidence-based. So we trained our intervention teachers on those tools, and they're using those tools in their classrooms. I was talking about the learning loss mitigation teachers. They're actually called, because we care about our language, we want to make sure that our language is supportive of our students. They're called academy teachers. So we also, for our upper grade students, we piloted a fluency program. So, and we've trained our teachers on that fluency program, and they're implementing that as well. We've adopted a couple of progress monitoring tools, so that we have those students in the intervention program, and then we're putting data points in place. So a student will be in an intervention program for 8 weeks, intensive, a certain, like 30 minutes a day, 4 days a week, just intensive support. Because what we're doing is we're pulling them out of the on-level instruction of their classroom. We don't want to do that. So we're trying to minimize the time that they're pulled out, but they're receiving intensive intervention with progress monitoring data points every 2 weeks. So after we get 3 data points, we can see whether the intervention is successful. If the trajectory of those data points is flat, we know we need to change the intervention. We're really closely monitoring. So it's these rapid iterations, trying to give the students a big boost, and then putting them right back in the classroom so they'll get that on-level instruction. We brought on 2 MTSS teachers on special assignment, and a process called Kid Watch, or collegial, whatever, Kid Watch is what we're calling it. And so the process is that there's a team of teachers, there's a principal, the counselor, a lead teacher at the school site that works with the teacher on special assignment, and they look at their data. The teacher on special assignment makes sure that everybody on the team understands their data, that they recognize and identify the students that are at promise or struggling academically, that they brainstorm possible interventions. And then after they do some prep, they call in teachers. So one teacher at a time comes in and meets with this team, and they get the support that they need to help intervene with those students. So they get to talk about, a teacher comes in and gets to talk about all of their students that are at risk, and then all the interventions that they've tried, and the team will give them additional ideas and then follow up with them. And the TOSA supports them with some of the strategies that they could use to intervene with students. So we have not only the learning loss teachers, the academy teachers working, but we also have the general ed teachers working as hard as ever, but being really more targeted and focused on specific student need. It's a couple of things we're doing.
I noticed even in the Riverview presentation, the RTI, the tier 2, like small group instruction, guided reading, that kids weren't able to get via the computer, they're able to get back in the classroom now. So that's an intervention before the tier 3 intervention teachers that I know is going to benefit kids. So it's great that the work that the schools are doing and that what the district supports have given them. So hopefully we'll see some good results.
I have a question. So when you were showing the numbers for like Lemoncrest and Lindo Park, who are our low-income schools that were in the 9 and the 8, but Winter Gardens was high too, 8 point. So what do you think that means?
Yeah, I noticed that. I think that's an interesting data point. Remember that Winter Gardens is
kindergarten, first grade,
yes,
and preschool.
No preschool at Winter Gardens. It's just K and 1.
Oh, just K and 1. Okay.
So I'm interested to see if we can disaggregate this data by grade level to see if it is our youngest students that have been more heavily impacted on the social emotional aspect.
And how many students do we have at Winter Garden?
There's, I'm going to say we're around 550 at Winter Gardens. And as do you want to make that point?
Winter Gardens being our school of kindergarten and first grade, a lot of those kids never had been to a classroom before, really had never been in school. They've been home for 2, some of them, you know, kindergarten was really difficult in the online setting because they are so young and they didn't have that. So a lot of them have never been to school. It's their first experience.
Preschool too, huh? Because preschool was like a lot of them who had access to preschool, that was limited too.
So I do have to say a concern that I have is we're providing a lot of support this year. And I sort of want to make sure that the gains that we see working this year, we're going to try to build moving forward to maintain growth that we see. And I'm hopeful we see from, I think, significant investment we're making into our kids. So do we have any plans for that in the works, to be proactive, to look at systems to maintain some of the growth moving forward?
So thank you for bringing that up. Remember that the Expanded Learning Opportunities Grant is a 1-year grant. So all the money has to be expended by the end of this year, meaning that the academy teachers and the aides that are providing these intensive support won't be funded next year. The money will be gone. So I call it an exit strategy. I'm talking to participants, I guess that's TOSAs, about what we are doing. The funding is not meant to be sustainable. It wasn't sustainable funding, but we're trying to figure out a way to make the interventions, make the processes that we're putting in place sustainable, even though. So one of the things that we're trying to do is we're trying to look at the effectiveness. We're meeting with the academy teachers. We're talking about, we're going to be, we haven't yet, but we're going to be talking about how they're implementing these interventions and really trying to figure out what the best, most expedient, best practices around implementing these interventions, and then showing the data, the gains that students have made, reflecting on those, and then pushing those strategies out to our teachers. We do have some funding coming in for effective teacher effectiveness funding. But as far as having additional money for additional staffing to pull students out.
You could possibly one funding, but it wouldn't the funds aren't enough to fund a whole position, but you could share a teacher possibly between 2 or 3 sites to work as an itinerant and working. I know when I was a principal, we had intervention teacher 2 days a week to do reading intervention, paid for with Title I funds.
So I'll tell you that our Title I schools that are receiving these two teachers have an additional several teachers that they're paid for out of their Title I funds that are also doing separate. And we call it Title I.
As a matter of fact, I completely agree with that point. And our teachers are working so hard. And I just want to make sure that we're providing the hard work that they're putting in now. I want to make sure that we're just saying, hey, if we can put some more investment into helping support the hard work they've done to make sure the growth that they've helped our students achieve, which is our hope with these investments, that we're able to maintain their work. So.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Kim. We have Natalie.
Good evening, everybody. I am going to give a very quick update on our COVID status this month since our last board meeting together. Okay. So very similar format to the format that you see every month. And let me minimize my faces so I can see my screen. Okay, so since our last board meeting, we have had 36 student cases of COVID with 85 associated close contacts with those 36 cases in our setting, 11 staff cases with 47 associated close contacts for a total of 47 cases since our last board meeting and 132 associated close contacts. Every month I bring you a chart of, sorry, my slide is not advancing. Let me see if I escape the presentation, sorry. Okay, I am going to share it verbally because for some reason my screen won't advance, nor will my screen won't advance. So I'm also going to share with you that we have had 4 class closures since the last board meeting for a total this school year of 11 class closures. So in this month, we closed a special day class at Lemoncrest, a special day class at Leap, a kindergarten class at Lindo Park, and a special day class, a different special day class at Lemoncrest. And finally, for symptoms, and this I report to you every month on symptoms because generally speaking, when folks have symptoms, they miss work or school. So we have had 857 students who have had symptoms associated with COVID-19 since October 9th. We've had 19 staff for a total of 876 people who have had symptoms associated with COVID in the last month. And then, as I always share in every meeting, we are continuing to implement our mitigation strategies because those strategies are demonstrating, in our setting at least, that they are working because although we have had some class closures and we have had a few cases of COVID-19, other than those 2 very, very small outbreaks that we had last month, we have had very little exposure or passing of the virus within our setting. So that is good news, and we attribute that to the fact that we still have several of our mitigation strategies in place. So I apologize that my slide was not working. Do you have any questions that I can answer for you?
Yeah, I have a question on the class closures. Do you close it? What percentage of kids in the class have to have it test positive, or if the teacher or a staff member in those classrooms, the special ed classrooms, that it seemed like a couple of them, does the class automatically get closed because they have close contact with all the kids?
So there's no one answer to that question because every single situation is different. So in some of those cases, it was a student who was positive. In some of those cases, it was a staff member who was positive. What it really comes down to, and I think what you're asking is, we have a lot of closures in our special day classes. And what it comes down to when we're making decisions about closing a classroom is how many people in that class were potentially exposed. And in our special day classes, depending on the population that we're serving, we have a few factors that weigh in. So one is we have some students in our special day classes that have mask exemptions. So not everyone in those classes is wearing a mask all day long because they have legitimate medical exemptions due to either their developmental level, their disability, their behavioral issues, or medical concerns. So when we look at the decision tree, one of the questions that the decision tree asks is, was the close contact wearing a mask? So we can't always say yes to that question, which then means that we can't allow the students to stay in school. We can't offer that remain in school option. So another factor that plays into whether or not we close the whole classroom is when we're looking at kids staying in class, we look at whether or not they're immunocompromised. So in some cases, students are immunocompromised, so we're more likely then to close that classroom. So there are several different factors that we look at before we make that decision. And we try always to keep classrooms open. That's always our very first go-to. How can we keep the classroom open? But as we go through the decision tree and we answer the specific questions that the decision tree is asking us, if we can't answer yes to all of those questions, then that's when we start looking at, does it make more sense to keep the classroom open, or does it make more sense safety-wise to close the classroom?
And then the classroom's closed for like a week's period?
And that one also depends. Sometimes we close classes for only 3 or 4 days because of the timing of when the positive test result came in versus when the symptoms started. So the most we would close a class for is about 10 days. But we've been lucky in some of our situations where we've been able to only close the class because of where the weekends fall or when the positive test came in. We've only had to close the class for 4 to 5 days.
Any other questions?
And I don't know if you can answer this, Natalie, but have you heard any chatter with the county office about, with this impending vaccine mandate? Have you heard of any of the lifting of some of these burdensome protocols as a result of the intent of the stated intent, I should say, of the governor? Because, a lot of our staff are facing, a lot of extra work because of it. So have you heard any chatter about maybe easing back some of these protocols once their mandate is finalized? Have you heard anything about that?
So not so much related specifically to the mandate, but I attend there's a weekly telebriefing with public health in the education sector. And I can say that even over the course of this year, they have rolled back some of the stringent nature of the decision tree. So the decision tree has actually changed several times just this year to allow us to keep kids in school more often. So I would say we've probably had about 3 to 4 significant changes this year alone. And when I say significant, I mean it may be just one factor of the decision tree gets changed. So for example, last year, we didn't have any remain in school options. It was everybody's out for 10 days if they have symptoms or a positive, or I'm sorry, symptoms or a positive test. Everyone in that class that was a close contact would stay out. Now we have options for close contacts, which we didn't have before, including a remain in school option if the parents are willing to get their child tested within 24 hours of learning about the positive close contact. So that's just an example of something that has changed so that now we have options that we can offer families. So they are rolling back, trying to change the decision tree as they get more information so that we can keep kids in school and have fewer students missing school. But as it relates specifically to the vaccine mandate, they have not told us yet what that will look like. Although on the decision tree, if someone is vaccinated, they can remain in school. So I would assume that if there was a vaccine mandate and younger students were getting vaccinated, that we would be able to keep more and more kids in school.
Thank you.
For the decision tree.
Yep, appreciate it.
Thank you, Natalie.
You're welcome.
We've been informed by the San Diego County Office of Ed that our internet may go down at 8 o'clock, and it's 8 minutes to 8 right now. I'd like to call in Carrie Strong early. Oh, so I don't need to call Carrie in early? Okay, maybe.
We can get through the.
Okay, and Andrew's saying that we're gonna call Carrie Strong in early. David Myers won't be speaking tonight, but I'd like to call Carrie in early just in case it goes down. Carrie, I hope Carrie's there.
I'm here and I'm having slow internet issues. You guys keep freezing on me, but I don't know if it's me or you. So I'm gonna leave my camera off. Can everybody hear me okay?
We can hear you.
Okay, good. So I'm not gonna ruin things by turning my camera on at the moment. But good evening. Well, we've been busy. The trimester ends this Friday, which means that I'm going to give a big shout out to all of our teachers who are doing report cards right now. You, board, may or may not be aware that your teachers are using Infinite Campus to do our report cards for the very first time this school year. I think in the 15 years that I've been here, the district, we have either done report cards on paper, pencil, like with like the copy paper, pink copy, yellow copy, all that kind of stuff. And then I believe we transitioned to a digital copy a little while ago. And I believe Dr. Taylor was involved with that when she was a principal and special new report card that came out. I might be remembering that wrong, but we haven't had a lot of changes since 2006. So this was a big change for us. And this new platform is different as we're discovering, getting into it. Some of the things that were not the same that we thought were going to be the same. And we're, finding that it's taking a lot longer to enter in our report cards. We've had lots of ongoing training and support and really good communication from the Ed Services Department when we come to them with all sorts of questions. So we appreciate that. It's just hard because it's a rapidly approaching thing where you kind of don't know that there's the issue until you're in there doing the report card. So we've had that ongoing support and we appreciate it. But I hope that as you're out around campuses, visiting schools and, thinking about the month of November and being thankful, I hope that you'll show some gratitude to our teachers and just give them a nod that it's a lot of, extra new things on top of all the other new things that we're dealing with our independent study contract paperwork. They're learning a lot of new stuff really quickly to try to get report cards ready before Thanksgiving break. So that action of showing your gratitude, it really makes a positive impact on your staff. The last point that I want to bring up really quickly before your internet goes down is that you may or may not have noticed, your teachers feel that our district is really struggling to attract and retain our employees. You've probably heard concerns about lack of subs and, shortages and teacher shortages and all of that. We've been talking about this for years and it's here, it's upon us, the waves crashing down. And what I'm really concerned most about is our current teachers. We really want to make sure we're retaining them. You know how tirelessly they work to navigate every new program and guideline and now mandates that are beginning to cause a lot of stress on them. And they are also picking up all the slack for the unfilled positions. We know that you are praising us and I thank you even tonight for reaching out and, acknowledging what hard work our teachers are doing. We hear that and we're thankful and it's very welcomed. I also have to tell you that your educators would like to see a timely and fair contract reached soon. We really don't want to see a long drawn out negotiation season this year. We can't afford basically to have our teachers poached by other districts. And we need to maintain competitive take-home pay and our benefits. It's critical to keeping people here. So I'm just going to end with that saying that our actions are going to speak louder than our words. And thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you, Carrie. Okay, now we'll start with a public hearing regarding the memorandum of understanding with the California School Employees Association. It's chapter 240, so that negotiations may commence. Since for information only, we don't need to vote. We will then have a public hearing for the governing board. We'll conduct a public hearing to receive input from the public regarding the findings contained in the annual and 5-year developer fees report for the fiscal year 2020-2021. We do need a motion for that. Don't all speak at once.
I will motion to approve
Excellent.
I really didn't, but okay.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. In your brain, okay. So would someone like to make a motion to designate the consent agenda items?
I will move to designate the items for the consent agenda.
Second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we need a motion to accept all those items. I do want to pull 2.1. Anybody else have anything they would like to pull?
I'd like to pull the 4.7.
4.7. All right. So would someone like to make a motion to approve all but 2.1 and 4.7?
I make that motion.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. So for 2.1, we have a copy of some amended minutes. So we need to, a motion to accept them as amended.
I make
What
that,
was the amendment?
Lisa?
It was 6.2 on the 7. It was a full. it's in the back.
I promise. Oh, got it. Thank
I'll
you.
make that motion.
I second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And on 4.7, Andrew?
Yeah, I just wanted to take a moment to thank those for sizable donations. I noticed there are $1,000 from Price Philanthropies to LMS Robotics, which I think is awesome because I love robotics, and so I'm very excited to see that happening. And then, of course, our amazing Stadium Association, of course, our amazing Verona Band of Mission Indians. So very excited.
I'm happy to see that donation.
Right? Isn't that right?
Woo-hoo,
Very
there's
excited.
hope.
So I just want to thank all of our community supporters, and I'm so glad to see sizable ones coming on in. It's so great.
Yeah, it's great that you support there for great program. Get to one of the big robotic champions. So.
This town is fun too.
I love Biztown.
Love this town.
Not trying to denigrate Biztown. I love Biztown. Okay.
Would someone like to make that motion then?
I will make the motion to approve 4.7.
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Very good. The first reading is requested of Board Policy and Administrative Regulation 4030, non-discrimination in employment. Anybody want to talk about that one at all? Nope. Moving on, the first reading is requested for Board Policy 4119.22/4119.22/4319.22, which is dress and grooming. Yep. You did.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I did. I wrote that one. You know, the interesting thing is, whenever I think of grooming, I think of dogs. So I don't want to treat our students like that. So.
I think you personal grooming.
Oh, see, yeah, okay, that's helpful.
Personal grooming.
I did see that.
Okay, we have a first reading is requested of Board Policy and Administrative Regulation 4119.25, 4219.25, and 4319.25, political activities of employees. Anybody have any questions about that?
I have one comment on it.
ahead.
I sent to Lisa already. We need to make an edit in the second paragraph to remove a duplicate word.
Okay.
So it will read, district employees as members of the community may use school facilities for meetings, etc.
Okay, when it comes back, then we can have that correction.
Good job.
And we'll have a first reading of Board Policy and Administrative Regulation 6154, homework and makeup work. Thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
And we are going to pull number 5. So we're not going to talk about that one.
Okay. any particular reason we're pulling, or we just
Yes, it just needs,
got it? I like it. Thanks.
I'm just gonna pull that one out. Okay, then we'll go on to the enrollment report. Lisa? Welcome, Lisa. It's the first time speaking at the board meeting, right?
Okay. There we go. So enrollment report for month 2, we are still down 170 students from the same time last year. We did show, I was looking at the report, and even though we're down the 170, both Lindo Park and Lemon Crest did show growth at both of those school sites, but everywhere else was showed loss of enrollment. So currently at month 02, ending month 02, we have 4,515 students.
Thank you. The quarterly investment report.
Quarterly investment report through the San Diego County Treasurer Investment Pool is still staying strong. And our investment, our district's investment pool is sitting at a little over $29 million. Very strong, and investments are looking great. And we have sufficient liquidity.
That's the big one. Thank you very much. Okay, we've already spoken with Carrie, and I understand David is not going to be joining us this evening. So now we'll stay with you, Lisa, for business and operations update.
Sure. We will be presenting our first interim report next month, the December board meeting, the 9th, the first one, the special board meeting. And then we'll also, there's another plan for the educator effectiveness grant that Kim had spoke to earlier. There's new dollars coming, and of course the state loves plans, and so we have to write a plan. They did not provide a template this time, which was shocker. So districts either had to create their own plan, or thankfully Riverside County Office of Ed created a plan and has shared it out graciously to everyone. So we will be writing that plan. Kim and I will be talking about it, but it has to be adopted by December 30th. It also requires 2 meetings. So we will hear it in a public hearing December 9th, and then present it for adoption. Yeah. It was, so, and we just received this information 2 weeks ago. So yeah, it's just, you know, how they like to operate, I guess. So and I do want to give a shout out to our child nutrition department. This past month, I just met with Amanda today, and the highest revenues, they hit over $400,000 just in 1 month in food collections from breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So they're just going like gangbusters. Caveat, the supply chain, such a struggle, but they're doing what they can. And if you do hear parents maybe commenting about the menus changing, it has to do with the supply chain. And she's trying to look at local sourcing with the different farmers. And but another district jumped in on her. She thought she had somebody secured recently, and called back, and they said, oh, sorry, San Diego Unified had already gotten, put in an order and solidified that. So she said it is just a dog-eat-dog world out there right now.
they're having trouble getting. I mean, if you've got, all of us have gone to the grocery store.
Paper, she said the biggest thing now is the trays. They're back
Oh.
ordered like 12, 18 weeks. And they're just, so they're trying to figure out, with the supply that we have right now, but it's going to run out with the orders that they put in. So it's just.
Bottled tea is really hard. Arnold Palmer's is really hard. It's Jake's favorite.
I did go with the smart fun with the first product out of this. For sure, it's like this.
It's just weird stuff.
Yeah.
It's weird stuff.
So I give a big shout out to that department because those employees are really working hard to get those meals out and prepare meals and try to plan, but they're not even planning 2 weeks out right now. That's about as far as they can go because things change so quickly. So that's it for our report.
Thank you. Kim?
So Ed Services has been trying to lift a student information system, the worst time in the world for Ed Services to be doing work
Like this. But we, that Illuminate is no longer with us in terms of our student information side of it. We still have the DNA part. But so we're trying to get that conversion. There's a whole bunch of pieces. Don't walk by Lauren's office unless you want to get yelled at. She's really been busy. And really, we're really trying to support other staff that has been impacted by the change. And you heard Carrie talk about the report cards. Report cards is something that is super important, that site teacher parent communication is super important. And I just want to thank teachers and give them a big giant shout out for their wherewithal and their resilience in learning a new system and grappling with it and they've been giving us some great feedback. So just a big thank you to them. I also want to talk a little bit about we're continuing with the alignment and calibration work and the developing of the performance tasks. The teacher leadership that has arisen as a result of this work has been amazing. We have actually somebody in the room that is doing that work, and people in attendance actually on virtually that have been doing that work. Again, teacher leadership is top notch. We could not have lifted this at all. Yeah, absolutely. And then for those of you who have not had the distinct pleasure of writing an SPSA before, it's a really labor-intensive process. It's a really difficult, a really important process. Our principals have collaborated with their teams to look at data, to really build some good, strong goals and strategies, making sure those strategies are measurable. And they really busted their hump to try to get a good, strong SPSA to you and to their staff and to their families and their students. So kudos to them, really.
Thank you. Rhonda?
I just want to echo what Dr. Reed said about the hard work that the principals did on their SPSAs. I am very familiar with them. And yes, I will unmute. Thank you. So again, I just wanted to mirror Dr. Reed's sentiments on how hard the principals work on the SPSAs. They are a daunting task. And so I know that they feel good to kind of have that in the rearview mirror and just acknowledge the teachers learning a new information system and doing report cards differently than they've done before. I always my favorite part is getting out to the school sites and seeing the kids and visiting with the teachers and talking to everybody out there and, just appreciating what they do. And I do talk about the school sites quite a bit. So today I spent a little time with the maintenance department, and I just have to say that the men and Christine, the lone lady over there, they do so much work and they are just so dedicated. And they were talking about how they showed me this panel box that they took off the back of a portable that they were just doing routine. This was their week to go out and do routine, regular maintenance checks and just check everything. So they weren't doing work orders this week. They were doing this check. Well, this panel box had 2 circuits on it that were smoking and melting. So it's a really good thing that they checked that particular panel box that day on the back of a portable. So they had to pull that out. Now, instead of having a contractor come in and fix that, the guys at our shop will go ahead and take care of that themselves. They don't outsource a lot of their work. And so they're just really talented people, and they just keep our ship afloat, you know, in so many ways. They're very creative and very talented. And I just wanted to shout out how much I appreciate them and their hard work. I'm not sure if Cesar Morales is still with us on this meeting. I don't think so, but I just am acknowledging that he is moving on to another position. We wish him the best of luck and thank him for the time that he spent with us here in Lakeside. And yeah, good luck, Cesar.
Anybody else have anything else? Then this meeting's adjourned.